Welcome to another Necromunda battle report. This time, Vishello Girlz of House Escher will be taking on the Void Spiders of House Delaque. Now let's take a look at the gangs. Here we have the Void Spiders of House Delaque, led by Spectre. He has a shock stave, throwing knives, a fletcher pistol, and mesh armor. And he knows the infiltrate skill. Then we have the champion, Shade. He's armed with a stiletto knife, auto pistol, a hand flamer, mesh armor, and he also knows the infiltrate skill. And then another champion, Underhive Games. He's armed with an autogun and a long rifle, with an infrasight and flak armor. And he knows the fast shot skill. And now onto some gangers. Here we have Vishello. He's armed with an autogun, a long rifle, and flak armor. And next to him we have Zenon. She's armed with an auto pistol, a shotgun, and flak armor. Then we have Weaver. She's armed with an auto pistol, a web pistol, and flak armor. And then to the last of the gangers, we have Octopod. He's armed with an autogun and flak armor. And then finally, we have the Dude Fade. He's armed with a stiletto knife. And their opponent today, Vishello Girlz, led by Queen Vishello. She's armed with a bolt gun, las pistol, and a power sword, and she knows the step aside skill. Then we have the Death Maiden Raven. She's armed with a plasma pistol, a needle pistol, and a venom claw, and she knows the lightning reflexes skill. And next to her, second in command, the matriarch Kaishi. She's armed with a plasma pistol, a power knife, and a stud gun, and she knows the dodge skill. And now on to the gangers. First up, we have Jukio. She's a sister with a shotgun, acid ammunition. And then we have Melind. She's a sister with a las gun. And next to her, we have Zeline. She's also a sister with a las gun. And here we have little sister Alessa. She's armed with 2 stub guns and a stiletto knife. And finally, we have the wild runner Kalissa. She's armed with a wild bow with poison arrows and acid arrows, and she also has a stiletto knife. And she's accompanied by a phalanx companion by the name of Ziggy. The scenario for this one is border dispute. Both gangs use the random selection method. The Vishello Girlz are starting with 6 fighters, and the Void Spiders starting with 6 fighters also. A fighter from each crew is selected randomly, and then set up on their side of the board 1 inch from the center point. The randomly selected fighter from the Vishello Girlz is a little sister Alessa, and for the Void Spiders, the Juve Fade. All other fighters are set up on their own turf, but no closer than 12 to the center line, and they must not be within 6 of another fighter from either gang. Each gang must also set up a gang relic. This must be placed on their side of the table and 4 away from the edge of the battlefield. The Escher's relic is right here in the high ground, much like the Void Spider's relic, which is over here on this building. Each gang is seeking to secure their turf and drive off the other gang, and the best way to do that is to file the other gang's relic. Any active fighter within 1 of an enemy's relic can make a double action to wreck it. Once a relic has been defiled, it no longer offers any bonuses to cool checks and leadership checks, and it cannot be wrecked again. Once a gang's relic has been defiled, they must start making bottle tests even if none of their fighters have gone out of action, and the result of the check is increased by 2. The battle will end if either gang has no fighters left on the battlefield or one of the gangs bottles out. 1d3 reinforcements from each side will arrive at the end of every turn. Reinforcements are to be deployed along any table edge. However, before the table edge is chosen, roll a d6. On a 1 to 2, the opposing player will choose a table edge and a point and deploy them within 1. On a 3 to 6, the controlling player may choose a table edge and a point and deploy them within 1. So now with that all out of the way, let's check out deployments and then get into turn 1. Vishello and Zeline have taken the high ground, while the rest of the Escher have spread out on the ground floor, making most of cover and staying out of line of sight. Void Spiders set up in a similar way, most of the fighters on the ground floor staying behind cover and out of line of sight of the Escher. Underhive Games and Vishello have taken position on this building in defense of the relic, and hoping to leverage their long rifle's great range to pin the Escher back. Now let's get to the initiative roll of turn 1. And Escher win initiative on turn 1. And of course, first to activate is going to be Alessa. She's going to blast both of her stub guns from close range at Fade. The short range bonus outweighs the penalty for shooting both guns, so she's looking for a 4+. First one hits, and the second one hits also. But we've got to make an ammo roll. She passes. And now both of these are wounding on 4s. And one's going to go through. Now Faye doesn't have any armor, so it's straight to injury rolls. And he goes down, seriously injured. Now Alessa's still got an action left, and she's going to use it to duck around behind this container. Now it's over to the Void Spiders, with Ghost Eyes Jari. Fixing his infrasight onto his long rifle, he aims up Zelene. Now Zelene is in heavy cover there, but it's mitigated by the long range bonus from the long rifle and the infrasight, so he's looking for a 3+. And it's a hit. Now 3's to wound, and that's successful. She does not have an armor save, so we're going to go straight to injuries. But first, she gets knocked back to here. And then goes down with a serious injury. But Ghost Eyes Jari's not done there. He does have the fast shot skill, and he's going to use it to take another shot with his long rifle, but this time at Vishello. This time's hitting on 2s. And that's a hit. 3+ to wound, which fails. It's now a knockback check, which fails. She's got to make an initiative check to see if she falls off. And she passes that, so she's fine. Now normally, she would go down pinned, but for some reason I forgot. It's a little bit unfortunate, but there's nothing that can be done about it now. So now we're back over to the Escher with Vishello. Considering her bolt gun's seriously outranged by the Delac's long rifles, she bans the high ground, moves down the ladder to here, and then up behind this container. And now back to the Delaque with Vaser. With all the Escher taking cover, his number of targets are dwindling fast. He uses his first action to move up once next to Ghost Eyes Jari. And then with his second action, he's going to use his long rifle to shoot at Raven. He just has line of sight to her, past that ladder. Now he's in good range for the long rifle, but Raven's in heavy cover, so he's looking for a 5+ to hit. And he's done it with that 5, threaded the needle, nice. Now he's looking for a 4+ to wound because Raven has 4 toughness. And he's failed with that 1. Now Raven's not knocked back, but she will go down pinned. Now it's over to Jukio. Without any Delaque in sight, she's just going to use both of her actions to move. First one to here, and the second one up behind this container to support Vishello and Alessa. Back to the Void Spiders again with Zenon. Taking advantage of the Escher falling back behind cover, Zenon uses both of his actions to dash across the open ground and take cover up against this wall. Now back to the Escher with Raven. She's got to use her first action to stand up. But the second action, she's going to move once and take cover behind this pillar. Now it's over to Weaver. Without any long range options, she needs to get closer to the Escher. So using the pillars as cover, she repositions to here, ready to spring out and punish any Escher that might get too close next turn. And now to Kalissa and Ziki. Ziki's going to activate first, and he uses both of his actions to move, taking cover behind this rubble. Now to Kalissa. She follows close behind Ziggy, takes cover behind this rubble also, looking to take advantage of any Delaque that get out of position next turn. And finally, the last fighter to activate for the Void Spiders is going to be the leader, Spectre. Seizing the opportunity to take an advantageous high ground position, he uses his first action to climb to here, and then his second action to move across and hunker down behind this barricade. He's going to have a nice shot next turn at the Escher below. And now we've just got the 2 injured fighters to activate, starting with Fade first. He weakly crawls towards Zenon, looking to get some aid on a future turn. And finally to Zelene, and she just crawls towards this cover. And that's going to do it for turn 1. we've got a couple of fighters to attend to in the recovery phase, starting with Fade. And he's staying down, seriously injured. Now to Zeline, and she's staying down too. Now bottle test for both gangs, and they're going to fail on a 6. They're both fine and staying in the fight, so now let's check for reinforcements. First up for the Void Spiders, and the D3 are going to show up. It's only going to be one, and it's going to be Shade. Now let's see who gets to choose where he turns up. Ooh, and it's going to be the Escher player who decides. And because he doesn't have any long range weapons, they decide to put him way off in the corner where he can't do any harm for a few turns. Now see how many reinforcements for the Vishello Girlz turn up? It's going to be both of them. Now let's see who sets them up. Melind, that's going to be the Delaque player, and Kaishi, chosen by the Escher player. And the Delaque player chose to put Melind way off in the corner here. She doesn't really have many good targets. I'll probably have to spend a turn to reposition. And the Escher player chose to put Kaishi right here, behind enemy lines and very close to the Delaque's relic. She's going to pose a serious threat next turn, and one that the Void Spiders will have to deal with if they want to keep their relics safe. The reinforcements showing up in this one have really made this battle interesting. In the coming turn there's definitely going to be some pretty fierce action, so now let's head to priority roll for turn 2. And the Void Spiders win it. Spectre will activate along with Zenon. Kalissa and Ziggy are pretty juicy targets there, especially for Spectre, who's up on the high ground and has a clear shot. He's going to activate first, and with his first action he's going to aim and then have a shot with his fletchette pistol at Kalissa. However, because she's not the closest target, we have to make a cool check. And he's actually failed that, which means he's got to target the closest model, which has to be Ziggy. That's 2 up to hit because he's aimed, and he's hit easily with 3 shots. Because Kalissa's out in the open too, he can distribute the shot how he wishes between Kalissa and Ziggy. He decides to put 2 shots into Kalissa and 1 shot into Ziggy. The Fleshbane rounds are toxic, and neither Kalissa or Ziggy have an armor save, so it's straight to toughness tests. We're looking for 3 ups. The 2 black dice are Kalissa and the yellow dice is Ziggy. Ooh, and it's only 1 wound for Kalissa. Now let's check for injury. And she goes down seriously injured. And of course, Ziggy does go down pinned. Now to the second half of the group activation. Zenon's up. She's going to use her first action to advance to here, getting Ziggy within short range of a shotgun. Then she's going to load a solid slug and have a blast. Because of range, she's hitting on a 3+, and that 4 will hit, but unfortunately she's got to make an ammo roll. She passes her ammo test, so the shotgun will knock Ziggy back. Now let's roll the wound, and that 4 will do it. He doesn't have an armor save, so we're going to roll out an injury dice. Ooh, and that'll put him down seriously injured. So the Escher have sustained some pretty hefty losses in the beginning of turn 2. Let's see if they can recover. So the Escher are going to activate Melind first. She's simply just going to aim once and then have a long range shot at Ghost Eyes Jari. Because she aimed, she's looking for a 3+, and that'll hit. And falls to wound. Well, that's successful. Ghost Eyes Jari does have mesh armor, so he's saving on a 5+. But that fails, so he's going to take a wound and go down pinned. We've also got to check initiative to see if he falls off. He easily passes with that 6. And now just a little reminder that he has lost a wound. Now over to the Delaque with Shade. He's way out of position right now, so he's going to use both of his actions to move. Once to here, and a second time up behind this pillar, ready to light it up next turn. Now it's Raven's turn to activate. Firstly, she's going to advance to here, within range to assist Kalissa and Ziggy in the recovery phase. Then she uses her second action to blast a plasma pistol at Zenon. Unfortunately, she's just out of short range there, so she's only hitting on a 3+. But with that 6, it's easily going to hit. Now 3 or more to wound. Ooh, but that's failed. which is just going to put Zenon down pinned. Could have been a lot worse. Back over to the Void Spiders. This time it's going to be the boys with the long rifles. Ghost Eyes Jari is going to group activate along with Vaser. Ghost Eyes is up first and he's looking to get some retribution. He gets to his feet and then turns his long rifle on Melind. She's not quite far enough away to get the sweet +1 for long range. So Ghost Eyes is hitting on a 3+. Ooh, and that's a nice shot. Easily hits. Now wounding on 3s, which is successful. Now check for knockback. Melind doesn't have an armor save, so we're going straight to the injury roll. And she's gone down, seriously injured. And that's another one out for the Escher. They're dropping like flies. Now it's over to Vaser. He needs to do something about Kashi, otherwise he's going to get a plasma pistol shot in the back of the head. He abandons his long rifle for the autogun, as it's a more reliable short range option. So I did somehow lose some footage here, but unfortunately for Vaser, all the shots sprayed wide. Now it's going to be Kashi. It was so nice of Vaser to present himself as a perfect target. He's even within close range of the plasma pistol, so she just uses her first action to take a shot. She's going to hit on a 2+, and that 5's easily going to do it. Now 3's to wound, and she's got it right in the nose, and his flak armor's negated by the negatives from the plasma gun, so straight to injury roll. Ooh, and there it is. The dreaded skull on the first one of the game, so the first casualty goes to the Escher. Vaser's been taken out of action. Kashi really is a stone cold killer. Kashi's not done there. She's still got one action left. She's going to use it to duck out of line of sight. She's perilously close to the Delaque's relic, and if not dealt with swiftly, she will have a good chance to defile the relic. Now back to the Void Spiders. They're going to burn an activation on Fade because they don't want to make a move with their other fighters yet. He's just going to crawl along, staying close to Zenon. To complete this game, the Escher are going to burn an activation on Zeline, who's just going to crawl closer to this cover. And now the Void Spiders are forced to activate the last model they have, which is Weaver. She's going to move once up behind this pillar and then have a shot with a web pistol. The template's easily going to engulf Alessa. Unfortunately, she was just out of range of hitting Jukio. Now let's check if she's webbed on a 3+. Ooh, and there's the dreaded 1. Which means Alessa's just going to go down pinned. Now it's Alessa's turn, and she's looking to get a little bit of revenge. She's pinned though, so she has to spend her first action to stand. With her second action, she's just going to shoot one of her stub guns at Weaver. Close range and cover cancel each other out, so she's looking for a 5+ to hit. Unfortunately, that misses. Now going to activate Jukio. She's going to spend her first action to climb on top of this container, and then loading some solid slugs into a shotgun, she's going to have a shot at Zenon. She's in close range there, so she's looking for a 3+ to hit. And that's easily going to hit. Now strength 4, so 3's to wound. And that'll do it. Now checking for knockback, so Zenon's knockback 1 inch. Now he does have flak armor, so he's saving on a 6+. But that fails. So it's injury roll time. So solid slug does 2 wounds, so it's 2 injury dice. Ooh, and there it is, another skull. Which means Zenon's been pasted and goes out of action. The Escher have really settled the score in the second half of this turn. Vishello's Girlz still have 1 model to activate and have left the best till last. Queen Vishello's up now. She needs to move out from behind this container to get a clean shot. So she spends her first action to move to here, hugging the container for a little bit of cover. Then she levels a bolt gun at the opposing leader Spectre and takes a shot. He's behind heavy cover there, but the short range prevents one of the negatives, so she's hitting on a 4+. Ooh, and she's missed, and she has to make an ammo roll. But she succeeds with a 6. Then Kalissa and Ziggy crawl a little bit closer to Vishello and Raven. They will both be getting an assist in the recovery phase. But before we get there, we have to roll some bottle tests. The Delaque first, and they're fine with that 3. Now for the Escher. Ooh, and that's close, but they just succeed. And now onto the recovery phase. First up, we do have Kalissa and Ziggy. Kalissa first, but she stays down seriously injured. Now for Ziggy, he stays down as well. Now Fade. Ooh, and he gets up with a flesh wound. Now way over here to Melind. She recovers as well, wow. Now let's just apply the flesh wound so we don't forget. And then lastly to Zeline, who's still seriously injured. Now of course to reinforcements. Octopod is going to come on for sure. Now let's see who gets to place him. It's going to be the Escher player. And without that many good options, we decide to put him right next to Malin. That turn was pretty messy, with multiple fighters on either side either going down or out of action. The upcoming initiative roll is going to be important and pretty interesting. There's a lot of high priority situations to attend to. Whoever wins is going to have to make a tough decision. There's one thing for sure, it's going to be an exciting turn, with action all over the board. Now let's get to priority roll for turn 3. And Escher win it. After much deliberation, it was decided that Weaver and the web pistol posed the most immediate threat. So Alessa's going to activate first and try and do something about that problem. She advances towards Weaver, skirting out wide to get a clean shot, and then, from short range, blast both of her stub guns into Weaver. Now unfortunately I did lose some more footage here, but she missed with one shot and hit with the other. It did wound, Zenon then failed to save and she went down, seriously injured. Now it's over to the Void Spiders, and the first thing they're going to do is activate Spectre along with Fade. Raven and a plasma pistol pose a pretty serious threat. So Spectre's going to activate first. He's going to aim, shoot his Fletcher pistol at Raven. Now she's out in the open, so it's a 2+ to hit. And that'll do it, but with only one shot. Now she doesn't have an armor save, so we're going straight to Toxic check. It's a 4+ because of Raven's toughness, and that fails. Which means Raven's just going to go down pinned. And that's probably enough to keep him safe, as the plasma pistol's not going to be within short range when she activates. And now we've just got Fade to activate as the second part of the group activation. Now he's only armed with stiletto knife, so he's just going to duck back around the corner and take cover against this wall. Now back to the Escher. Malin's up now. She's just going to stand up and then take a shot with the lasgun at Octopod. Now he's in short range there, so we're looking for a 3+ to hit. And that's a 6, easily does it. Now to wound, it's a 4+. And that's failed. However, Octopod will go down pinned. Back to the Delaque. Ghost Eyes Jari is going to activate. He's got a pretty juicy target in Chukio. She's standing right on top of that container, out in the open. Unfortunately, she's within the short range, so there's no modifiers, but he's still hitting on a 3+. And he's nailed it with a 6. Now 3+ to wound. Ooh, and that's failed. Now let's check initiative for Chukio to see if she falls off the container. She's passed with that 5. Now a knockback check, which succeeds. So Jukio's just going to get knocked back to here and go down pinned. Ghost Eyes Jari's not done there though. He does have fast shot, so he's going to put another round right into Jukio. Now it's the same modifiers, so a 3 up again. And he's landed another shot. Unfortunately this time he has to make an ammo check, and that fails, so he's out of ammo in the long rifle. Now it's a 3 up to wound, and this time it's successful. And that's an out of action. So the first one for the Void Spiders, and that takes Jukio down. This has been a brutal, bloody battle so far. Of course, just so we don't forget he's run out of ammo, I'm going to place this token here. It's Kaishi's turn now. She's looking to get some revenge for Jukio. She spends her first action to climb to here. And then levels a plasma pistol at Ghost Eyes Jari for a close range blast. Let's see if Kaishi can do it again. She's hitting on a 2+. And that'll do it. Now 3 up to wound. And that wounds also. Now it does still have an armor save, but it's modified to a 6+. And that's going to fail. Now it has lost a wound, so we're going to roll out 2 injury rolls to see what happens. And she's done it again. Another skull. Kaishi is the bringer of death. And Ghost Eyes goes out of action. The Void Spider's relic is now truly exposed. Now it's over to Octopod. He pulls out his autogun and then lets off some short range shots at Malind. He's looking for a 3 up to hit. And he does, with 2 shots. Now 3+ to wound because Malind's got a flesh wound, and 1 goes through. She doesn't have an armor save, so straight to injury roll. And she goes down, seriously injured, again. Now it's back to the Escher with Vishello. She's within good range, so she's just going to spend her first action to aim, and then shoot a bolt gun up at Spectre. aiming in short range cancels out the negatives for cover, so she's looking for a 3+. But unfortunately, she puts all the shots wide and totally misses. Now it's back to the Void Spiders, and they're going to activate Shade. Now he has to circle around to here first to get an angle on a lesser which won't hit Zenon. Then he takes a shot with his Hand Flamer. The template easily covers a lesser. First up, we're going to test for Blaze, and that's failed. Now to wound, it's a 4+. That will succeed. And then an injury roll, and that's another one down. Seriously injured. This battle is bloody. Now we're just going to activate the injured fighters. Zelene just rolls around on the ground a little bit more. And then Kalissa and Ziggy both crawl closer to Vishello for that sweet assist in the recovery phase. Finally, the last model to activate for the Escher is going to be Raven. Now she's pinned, so she's got to stand up with the first action. Then she levels a plasma pistol and has a shot at Spectre. Unfortunately, she's out of short range and using a heavy cover, which means she's going to hit on a 5+. Ooh, but she gets a lucky shot off and manages to hit. Now that shot did wound. Now I've got to check for armor save, and he fails it on a 2. Plasma pistol does 2 wounds, so it's straight to injury roll. Ooh, and luckily, he just takes a flesh wound. And the last model left to activate for this turn is going to be Weaver. Now she's down seriously injured, so all she can do is crawl 2 inches closer to her friend Shade. Now let's make some bottle tests, starting with the Void Spiders. With that one, they're not going anywhere. Now let's check for the Vishello Girlz. And with that 4, they're still in the fight too. Now over to the recovery phase, starting with Weaver. Ooh, and she's back in the fight. Now to a lesser, and she's still down, seriously injured. Now to Melinda. Ooh, and she goes out of action. And another one to the tally. Now let's see if Zelene can finally recover. Unfortunately, she's still down with serious injury. Kalissa now, and with Vishello's help, he's back in the fight. And then Ziggy. Ooh, and he recovers as well. With the Void Spider's relic under serious threat of getting defiled, and many of their fighters wounded, Spectre gives a signal for the troops to fall back, and the Delaque melt into the shadows, and disappear into the Underhive, which leaves the Vishello Girlz as the victors for this battle. And as a reward, they're going to add the drinking hole to the gang turf. Thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this Necromunda battle report. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Please feel free to stick around as we're going to head to the post game to roll out some injuries and generate some income. Firstly, let's check to see if the seriously injured fighters succumb to their injuries. Starting with Melinda, and she escapes without further injury. And now to Zelene. She will suffer an injury. Now let's roll for lasting injuries. Zelene's up first, and that's going to be a grievous injury, so she's going to miss the next battle. Now Drukio, she's just out cold. Now Melinda. 55, that's a spinal injury, but we can use our Stinger Mold Patch to re-roll it. And on the re-roll, she's just out cold. Now to the Void Spiders with Razor, and that's a critical injury. Let's see what the doc has to say. 70 credits, which means he's probably going to bite the dust. Now to Zenon, and she's just out cold. Now Ghost Eyes Jari, and that's a grievous injury, so he'll miss the next battle. Now income for the Void Spiders, and the settlement's going to produce 50 credits. Now to see if any juice or gangers are generated, and neither of these are. The gambling den they call Hearts, and that's going to give them 20 credits. Because the relic did not get defiled in the mission, they get a d6 times 10. That's going to be another 30 credits, so the Void Spiders make 100 credits in total. Now to income for the Vishello Girlz. First up, we have 2 old ruins. That's going to produce 40 credits. And now the settlement, another 40 credits. Unfortunately, they do not get any free Jews or gangers. And now, because their relic did not get defiled either, they get a further 40 credits. The Vishello Girlz get a total of 120 credits. Once again, thank you very much for watching. There's more Necromunda battle reports on the way, so stay tuned. I do hope you'll join me for some of those. Until then, take it easy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.